So we'll start this class by introducing meditation 101 in general, baseline, what it is, how do we do it, how does it work, why does it work, all that fun stuff. So if you are brand new to meditation, it's totally fine. There's no experience level needed for any of these classes, right? So we'll start with that. Then we'll do a brief breathing meditation, which is a good entry point. Emphasis on brief. Don't worry, you're not going to be sitting there for a crazy amount of time. And then we're going to get into our topic for today. And the topic today is one that I have been doing every couple of months because people really like it. And I think that it is a really good example of how you can start to use some of the things we learn about meditation out in your normal life, right? Because you have a busy life. You don't have 8 hours to spend sitting cross-legged with your eyes closed as much as you might like to. So I'm a meditation teacher and I don't have that time. So this class is all about how we can kind of get creative about turning our day into a meditative practice, right? It's fun. It's a good one. And you will need a little cup of water. Like, it doesn't need to be much at all. A couple sips. Hey, Daphne, welcome back. Glad to see you. I will remind people a bunch of times, but at some point before we do that, if you have just a little bit of water accessible to you, that'll be good because we're going to do a fun meditation about drinking water. Okay. So let's get started. Oh, last thing, and Brenda did cover this for me beautifully. Thank you. If you are new, please do ask questions if you have them. The best way to ask me any questions is through the chat. I will stop what I'm doing and answer. Don't feel like you need to wait to ask a question. Just go for it. And if you think of something after the class, maybe, or you don't want to use the chat for whatever reason, that's fine too. I'll give my email out, and you can email me anything. Okay? Cool. All right. So, Nisha, hi. All right. So, meditation 101. What is it? First word that comes to mind is probably relaxing. Zoning out is another kind of big word I hear from people who are new to meditation. And these are pretty good ways to kind of categorize it, right? And relaxation is really kind of at the core here, right? That's why most people seek out meditation. They're feeling stressed, they're feeling anxious, they want to just relax, right? And for good reason. Meditation is wonderful at doing that. But how does meditation relax you? I think this is a really important point that is, sometimes not covered explicitly enough in some of the presentations of meditation. So, meditation is actually a technique to train your mind in becoming familiar with something, right? Maybe that's a strange definition, right? But we can look at how important familiarity is to us by thinking about things that we're really familiar with, right? So what about tying your shoe? Probably pretty good at it, right? You can probably do it with your eyes closed or while you're on the phone or cooking. I don't know. Maybe cooking would be tough. The point is, you're good at tying your shoe. You could say it comes naturally to you. You've had a lot of practice. It's very familiar to you, right? Now, when you were a kid, tying your shoe was tough. You probably don't remember it, but there might be a video out there, some photos of you struggling to tie your shoe, right? So what was the difference in between then tying your shoe being very difficult, now tying your shoe coming naturally? practice, right? Familiarity. You have become so familiar with the mechanics, both physical and mental, required to tie your shoe that it starts to flow pretty naturally, right? We can say tying your shoe is very familiar to you. Right? You like my chair? Thanks. I'm a gamer. Yeah, okay. I gave it away. Thanks, man. So the same is true for anything you've learned, right? Driving a car, walking, right? These are all things that at first, maybe not walking so gracefully. Now you're walking pretty good, right? Familiarity is a huge part of our life. And what it does is it makes these things start to flow more easily. Cool? The same is true with your mind. Mental familiarity, right? Which is what we really focus on with meditation. So, let's look at relaxation again, right? Meditation is not pulling relaxation out of thin air, right? Meditation doesn't equal relaxation. What meditation is doing is teaching you a technique to become familiar with what I'll call your relaxed self. There's a version of you, right, that is super relaxed and very low, very low key and thinking objectively about your problems, right? That's a good version of you. We all like that version, right? We want it to come up more. And it's in there. And all of the kind of busyness that's happening and stress, anxiety that's pulling for our mental attention all day long, it's just making it hard for us to kind of tap into it. And so we haven't really become that familiar with it enough that it starts to flow naturally. All right? Now, this works both ways, good and bad, right? So think about something like anger. Do you have to try to get angry? Nina, you need to meet this me. If you now, everyone it shows itself differently, frequency wise, right? But it's there. If you think hard enough, it's there, right? So let's look at kind of the other end of the spectrum of how familiarity can also plague our mind, right? So anger. We don't have to try to get angry, right? Just happens. We don't have to stop and be like, hey, I got to try to get angry. Just hang on a second. Now, patience, we got to try for that one, generally, right? So does this mean we're like an angry person by nature? No, not at all. It's just that our mind is familiar with getting angry because we've had a lot of practice getting annoyed, right? We've had more practice getting annoyed than getting patient, being patient. And so our mind is more familiar with it. It gets there more naturally. So meditation is a way of, you starting to choose what you want to be familiar with. You starting to choose what you want your mind to focus on. It's kind of like a choice, taking back ownership of your own thoughts, which is a really powerful thing to think about, right? And so if you want to be more relaxed, the key is learning how to tap in to this relaxed self that it's there. It's always there. We just got to go get it and become more familiar with it. I'm just going to turn on this light. It's getting rapidly darker here. Okay, cool. Selena, your issues anxiety. That is a very common one. It is actually what got me into meditation 15 years ago. And meditation is very good for anxiety. I can confidently say that it's helped me quite a bit. And some of the things we'll talk about today, I'll try to call out ones that'll be really good for anxiety. All right, cool. Okay, so a little kind of analogy because we all love analogies, right? Sometimes we're visual learners. Imagine you're by a lake. It's a beautiful day. There's no clouds, there's no wind, there's no rain or any of that. And you're looking at the lake. It's very still, calm. You can see the reflection in the lake, right? Now, if the rain starts to come down, what happens to that reflection? Not as easy to see, right? We could say it's the reflection is not as clear. And if it really starts to downpour, might not be able to see the reflection at all. But is the reflection still there? Oh, now that's an interesting question, right? The reflection is always there. It's just masked by the inclement weather. Right? So your mind is the exact same way. Your mind naturally is very peaceful, calm, cool, collected, thinking objectively about your problems, reasonably about situations. Right? All of the anxiety, stress, stimuli that's pulling for our attention all day long, they're kind of like these raindrops, and they are obscuring our stillness. But it's in there. It's never gone. This is a very important point of meditation. We're not going and getting relaxed. We are relaxed. We're just connecting with it in a way that will become easier over time. Cool? Salita, you've done this before. You have a hard time sticking with it. That is the biggest issue, for sure. And I can, if you remind me a little later, I can speak to some of that. But right off the bat, consistency is the most important, not time. You do not need to meditate for hours on end, but consistency, right? 1 minute a day. That's going to be what kind of trains your mind to normalize this. Cool? Janelle, welcome. Okay, so we're going to do a breathing meditation. All right, and this is our kind of first foray into meditation. And if you want to get fancy about it, it is called single-pointed concentration, which I guess sounds kind of fancy. But if you think about it, it means just focusing on one thing. Are we good at that? We're pretty good at multitasking. I don't know if you've noticed that. We're kind of experts at multitasking. But sometimes when we try to, focus single-pointedly on something, our mind's like, no, I'm going to go think about that thing that happened earlier. We're like, wait, why? Our mind is just used to thinking about a lot of things. And so while that's very good for getting worldly tasks done, it's not the best for being relaxed. So the first thing we're going to learn is how to kind of pacify some of the busyness in our mind to just settle, calm ourselves, tap into the peaceful self a little bit, right? Just a little bit. Right? It's called single-pointed concentration. And you don't need to use your breath. It's very common. We're going to use it here. But this class actually today is all about other ways we can do single-pointed concentration outside of this kind of formal sitting with our eyes closed, meditating. All right? So let's do it. It's going to be quick, no more than 5 minutes, so don't worry about that. And make sure you're relatively comfortable. You can be in a chair like me. You can sit on the floor if you prefer to do that, or if you had a long day, you want to lay down, go right ahead. Doesn't matter. Some people think you got to sit in a certain seating arrangement. No, it doesn't matter. Just be comfortable, relatively. That way you aren't, focused on how uncomfortable your chair is. Daphne, you like my class? I love you being here. Thanks. All right, so make sure you're nice and comfy as much as you can be. And you can go ahead and close your eyes. And I am going to lead us through about a 5-minute breathing meditation to just kind of relax a little bit. All right? Okay. Whenever we start a meditation, it can be helpful to just first check in. Ask yourself, how am I feeling right now, in this exact moment? We're not doing anything about it. It doesn't matter if we're happy or sad, if we're tired or sleepy. We are just noticing. We're practicing mindfulness. Mindfulness is an active awareness of your own thoughts moment to moment for the purpose of being able to respond to those thoughts skillfully. And so right now we are practicing that skill by checking in. Having done that, you can now make a choice. Choose to focus single-pointedly on your breath. Breathing in and out gently, naturally. There's no need to take big, deep breaths. You do not need to forcefully exhale. Just breathe as you normally would, naturally, in and out. And give yourself permission to relax a little bit into your chair or cushion. Single-pointedly focused on each moment of each breath. Following the air in its entirety as it enters your nose, sits, and then gently exits. Fully present with each breath, in and out. As you begin to relax a little bit more into your chair or cushion, at some point you may notice your mind drifting a bit. Maybe you're starting to think about something that happened earlier in the day. Or maybe you're starting to think about something that you have to do later after this class ends. Whenever you notice that your mind is doing this, drifting, you can just gently say, not right now, to those thoughts. We'll get to them later. And then purposefully guide your focus back to your breath, back to breathing in and out, gently and naturally. Back to following the air entering your nose and exiting. Back to the present moment, right here, now. Breathing in, breathing out. Gently and naturally as you begin to relax even more into your chair or cushion. Keep bringing your attention back to your breath whenever you notice that it has drifted. This process of choosing to focus single-pointedly on your breath, noticing when your attention drifts away, and being able to guide your attention back to breathing, that is meditation. You are meditating right now. You are training your mind to relax, to be calm, to tap into its natural, peaceful state. You are training your mind to focus on what you want to focus on. And right now, that's breathing in and out, gently and naturally. So just for the next couple of moments, continue to breathe in and out and just enjoy being here in this moment with your breath. Okay, when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Hello. Welcome back. How'd that go? So if you're new, right, maybe that was tough. You shouldn't be surprised because I don't know how often you practice. I don't know how often you do this, right? When's the last time you said, I got a good idea, I'll just spend some time thinking about my breath, and anytime my attention drifts, I'll just bring it back. We don't really do it that much, right? And so we're not that familiar with it, right? There's that word. Familiarity is the word for meditation. So just like learning anything else, learning to jump rope, learning to tie your shoe, this process of focusing single-pointedly on something will start to become more natural for you, flow more naturally for you with practice. Because your mind right now is like, I don't know what you're trying to do here because we don't do this. Your mind's like looking through the record books. It's like, nope, I have no record of this at all. We think about a lot of things at once, as many things as possible. So it's just going to take some time. Right? We have to essentially teach our mind the value of doing this so it looks forward to it, right? It's like a pet. We gotta train our pet mind. Patricia was relaxing. Good. I'm glad. Okay. So, who said that they had trouble sticking with this? Selena. Before I go on, hey, thank you so much for the subscribing. I really appreciate that. That means a lot to me. Thank you so much. So Selena, I just want to, before we go to our other kind of topic here, sticking with meditation is all about consistency. I mentioned this a little bit before, but that is the crux of learning this, right? So maybe this was about 5 minutes. Maybe you're like, that's way too long for me. That's fine. What about 2 minutes? No? What about 30 seconds? 10 seconds? Doesn't matter. It literally doesn't matter. All that matters is you decide for yourself what you are able to commit to, and then try to do that each day. Right? And then over time, you'll be able to expand it if you want to. Consistency is the most important thing. Cool? All right. Cool. Selena, thanks. I was like looking through the old text. I'm like, oh, I can't find it. Mary, helpful as always when I could keep my mind focused. Yeah, so this, and look, I've been meditating a very long time, about 15 years formally. My mind drifts. That's what minds do. The goal with meditation is not to never lose focus. It's not to never have your mind drift. It's to become better at first noticing like, hey, my mind drifted, and then being like, I want to go back to breathing right now. I'll get to that later, right? It's about the process of choosing to focus on something single-pointedly, noticing when you're not bringing your attention back. That's meditation. That's it, right? Cool. Pat, you needed this today. I need to practice. We all do, myself included. So you're here. That's step one. That's great. Okay. So we're going to move on, but if you do have any questions about anything that we've, done so far, you can feel free to ask me. And we're going to talk about, some creative ways to use meditation when we're really busy. And the good news here is we're all busy. So everyone can relate to this one. So when we're learning about meditation, almost always we do breathing meditation, which is, very good because our breath is always with us, right? So if you become really good at using your breath as your object of relaxation, great. You can kind of take that wherever you go, right? But we don't always have time to sit down and do breathing meditation, right? We have a lot going on, and the modern day is very fast paced, right? So we can start to fall into the trap of thinking that meditation is just when I do this breathing thing. That is a form of meditation, but it is just that. It is one form of meditating, right? You can meditate on anything. The only prerequisite for something to be meditation, right, is for you to intentionally choose to focus on something single-pointedly. Notice when your attention drifts, bring your attention back. That's training your mind to focus on one thing, the thing that you want to focus on. That's what we're doing, right? So we can start to get creative with some of the busyness in our day, turning those activities into a meditative practice, right? And this is just this is warning number 2 for the meditation we're going to do in probably about 15 minutes after our talk. You'll have to have a little bit of water or some sort of liquid that you are able to ingest. If you want it to be wine, or I don't care, go for it, man. But it doesn't need to be much, just a little bit. We're going to do like kind of like a mindful drinking meditation, which I'll explain what that is. But this is just a reminder in case you're, trying to figure out when's a good time to go. You can go now if you want. Okay? Okay. So when we are thinking about expanding our definition of what counts as meditation, there's really limitless possibilities, right? But I have some that I think are good to kind of think about. Broke them into a couple of different categories here, right? And some of these you might be like, I don't like that one. That's fine. Hopefully you'll be able to find one here that maybe might sound interesting for you, right? Okay. Mary, that's why you got wine? All right, cool. I like it. All right. So the first thing that's kind of like non-traditional sitting down meditation is when we're using movement as our meditative focus. Now, I bet some of you do yoga, right? Pretty popular, right? I used to do yoga a good amount until I shattered my wrist biking twice. But what is the directive when you're doing yoga, right? What are you supposed to be doing? You're supposed to be focusing exclusively, single-pointedly on the movements of your body, how your body feels moving into these different positions, right? The directive is not, hey, do these specific movements and think about work, right? That's not the goal. Yoga is a meditation on movement, right? You are choosing intentionally to focus on how your body feels going into warrior 1 or whatever position you're doing. I think that's one. And you're focusing on that single-pointedly, right? And then if you ever catch your mind like, oh man, I got that project coming up, not right now. Put it aside, and we're going back to focusing on our movements. Now that sounds very similar to what we just did, doesn't it? Right? With our breath. We're just swapping our breath as the object of focus with our body movement, right? Yoga is a form of meditation. It can be if you choose for it to be so, right? Cool. Maybe you don't like yoga, or maybe it's difficult for you. There are other types of movements that we can do that we can turn into like a meditative practice. Walking is a really good one. Walking meditation is pretty common. Sometimes you might, if you like Google walking meditation, you see people walking around in a room kind of strangely. But you don't need to be doing that to do walking meditation, right? So let's say you're going to the grocery store, right? You drive to the grocery store, you're in the parking lot, right? maybe you just get home from work, you get out of your car, and you're walking to the door of the grocery, and what are you thinking about? This is all the things I got to get, and then I got to get home, and then I got to do this, and I had such a this day was terrible, right? A lot going on there, and that little time for walking from your car to the door. So what if every time you went grocery shopping, you said, okay, for the brief moment that I'm walking from my car to the door, I'm going to make a choice to choose, and I'm going to choose to exclusively think about, single-pointedly focus on how my feet feel as they make contact with the ground. Does ground feel even or not? Like, there's a million things we can kind of think about, right? But that is, we're making a choice to focus on that movement single-pointedly, and then when we start thinking about our grocery list, like, I get to that when I get inside, right? Go back to thinking about the movements. What does that sound like? It's the same thing. It's meditation, right? We're just getting creative with what is this is called changing the object of your meditation, if you like fancy nomenclature of this stuff. Also doesn't have to be walking. Maybe you're sitting at your desk at work. You can kind of think about how your feet feel pressed against the floor for a couple seconds. I don't know, maybe just very quietly so you don't bother anyone. And, tap your fingers on your desk or your lap or something like that. All of these movements, it doesn't matter what they are. All that matters is you are making a choice to focus on it single-pointedly, noticing when your attention drifts, bringing it back. Leslie, that sounds dangerous. Is that the which one? The walking to the grocery? It might be cars. Yeah. So this is another thing too. Obviously, do not do this to your detriment. All right. If you're walking, down a path or something like that, and there's no risk of anything like that, just be a good opportunity for it. Prioritize your safety, of course. Daphne, never thought of it that way. Yeah. So this is the interesting thing about meditation. We think it's sitting down breathing, but that's not meditation. That is one type of meditation. Cool. Okay. So what about some other things we can do? What about using our senses? Remember those? There's 5 of them. Taste, mindful eating. This is called. Think about breakfast, right? You have breakfast every morning, hopefully. Maybe you don't, because we're so busy, right? We just don't even have breakfast. But pick a meal that you have. And what do you usually think about when you're eating? It's not usually eating. Right? We're thinking about everything other than eating. I mean, maybe there might be a brief moment where like, oh, this chicken tastes great or whatever, but then we go back to, thinking about our day. So what if, maybe just for like a bite or two of breakfast, we're like, okay, for this next bite of this fruit I'm eating for breakfast, I am going to single-pointedly focus on how eating this feels, right? The taste, is it cold? All these different kind of sensations that come just from eating this single piece of fruit. You only have to do it for one bite. It doesn't have to be your whole meal, right? But this is meditation. We are choosing to focus single-pointedly on eating, noticing when our attention drifts, bringing it back. And so what's happening here is we are expanding the amount of time that we are training our mind to focus on something single-pointedly. And what happens when we practice something more? It starts to become easier, right? So this is a good way to get creative. Also, if somebody was talking about anxiety earlier, sometimes people feel anxiety when they're sitting quiet, breathing. And these types of things are really good if that's something that you struggle with, right? You do not have to sit down and do breathing meditation. It is helpful because it shows you that you don't need to do anything other than just kind of sit to be able to relax, but it's not the only way for you to do this. Carol, petting your dogs is always focused. That is a very interesting observation. And it's something that is very true, right? Sometimes when we're petting our dogs, we're super plugged in, right? It's like, oh, the hair is so smooth or whatever, right? Like there are moments where we are meditating. You're a meditator already. Maybe we just don't notice that we're doing it, right? And we don't consciously make an effort to do it. So that's what we're trying to cultivate here, right? Cool. I'm the person that gets the anxiety when sitting still in quietness. Meditation is hard for me to want to do, but I always feel better afterwards. So, Britters, and thanks again for the sub. This is something I would recommend you try. I too had that issue, and still do sometimes. I had an anxiety, or I guess you can call it a phobia or whatnot, about itching, which you might imagine is not great when when I'm sitting very still and I get an itch, or something like that, right? I just really had a really bad anxiety about it for whatever reason. Doing this kind of stuff really helped me. And then you know what? It was easier for me to do the sitting meditation because my mind is like, oh, you want to focus on one thing? Cool. Yeah, I know. We do that sometimes. Cool. All right. Thanks. Okay, so we did taste. We're going to do drinking water meditation in a little bit. What about smell? Ooh, smell of a candle? Candles are cool, right? Because you light a candle and you're like, man, that smells great. And then you go back to do whatever you're doing, right? But the candle's still there, but it's done. So what if, next time you light a candle, you're like, okay, for the next minute, I'm just going to sit here, close my eyes, and just kind of take in the aroma of this candle. That's it. The candle is the only thing that matters right now. Right? There you go. You're meditating using a candle. It's the same thing. You're training your mind. Cool. Okay. Same. I always read a book to help me relax. Great. That's great. Now, something to think about, right? Are you always relaxed when reading? Right? Are there times where you're reading a book, but you're worried about work or thinking about something else, right? When our mind is kind of in the future or in the past, that's when some of these unwanted emotions, anxieties start to crop up, right? So even with something that is very relaxing for us, usually like reading, there are times where it might not be, right? So it's interesting to notice these things. Part of meditation, training your mind, is starting to take notice of what's going on in kind of like a moment-to-moment basis, right? Cool. What about listening? There's another one you can do. Listening to music is an interesting one, right? So now, when you listen to music, is that all you're doing? You're just listening to music? Not usually, right? Music's interesting because we generally listen to music while doing something else, right? We're driving. We're working. We're cleaning. I don't know. We're exercising, right? So music is kind of feels like this kind of background thing for us, right? But what if, the next time we're going to listen to music, we just take a moment and we just only focus on music. The instrumentation, is it high pitched, low pitched? Like, it doesn't matter. We're just so plugged into the music. And then when our mind starts to drift away, not right now, get to that later, bringing attention back to the music, right? We can meditate on music. Right? Some people use music as meditation, right? This is kind of how it works. You can change what the object of your focus is, and it's still meditation. Cool. And then sight. This is a good one if you like to get outdoors. How many times were we walking down the street in our life? A lot. Right? And, there's a lot going on when we're taking a simple walk down the street. People are laughing, hugging. There's birds chirping. The leaves are rustling in the gentle breeze, right? These are all things that are always happening. They're always there. But we generally don't notice them because our mind is not walking. Our body is walking, but our mind is not walking. right? And so all these cool sights that we could see on our walk, we miss, right? So maybe the next time you're, I don't know, taking a little stroll down the block, or even just going into your own backyard or whatnot, maybe you're just sitting on a bench, right? I'm just gonna look at this tree for 30 seconds. That's it. Just gonna focus on the tree, look at the leaves, the color, and then bring my attention back whenever it drifts. Cool. You're meditating using sight on a tree. Cool. And then the last category that I'll talk about, and then we're going to do our drinking water meditation. So this is the third reminder to get a little bit of water or wine if you want to hang with Mary. Is tactile. And if you're like, I don't know which one of these to choose, Keith, just tell me what to do. This is the one I would choose, right? And there are a couple of things that we do all day, well, not all day, but every day, that kind of fall into this category. And that's really where we want to start. I don't want you to add new things. If you do not go and take a walk around the lake every day, I don't want you to go take a walk around the lake every day, right? Because the goal here is to not add to your plate of things to do. It's to take one of those things and transform it into meditation, right? So think about brushing your teeth. There's something that we do twice a day, right? When you're brushing your teeth, are you thinking about brushing your teeth? Absolutely not. We are thinking about everything else except brushing our teeth, right? And I think it was like 2 minutes you're supposed to do it. Yeah, that's a good amount of time. So what if now you're going to turn brushing your teeth into your meditative practice, and every time you brush your teeth, for that entire time that you are brushing your teeth, you're just focused on how the bristles feel against your gums and your teeth, the sound that they're making. There's a lot of different things going on here. And whenever you catch yourself drifting, thinking about something else, hey, I'm brushing my teeth. You bring your focus back to brushing your teeth, right? There's so many opportunities in the day for you to practice meditation without you having to fit it in to your already busy schedule. Cool. Showering is another really good one. We think about a lot of things in the shower. And I don't know, maybe you like that. My best thoughts come in the shower or whatever. But this is another good opportunity, right? Getting dressed, putting on our socks or whatnot, right? These are all very small opportunities, but opportunities nonetheless to practice meditation. Cool? So the big takeaway here is meditation does not require your breath. Meditation is choosing to focus on something single-pointedly, noticing when your attention drifts, bringing your attention back. As many times as you need to do that process, that's meditation. And you can meditate on anything: walking, tying your shoe, eating a piece of fruit, smelling a candle, watching a bird fly by, brushing your teeth, showering. Infinite things in your day that you're already doing. Why not double down? You got to do them anyway. Make them a good meditation practice for you. So I'd recommend just picking one. Maybe you're really motivated. You're like, hey, this is cool. I'd like to do this. I'm going to do 5. Don't. Just do one. Right? Just try one. And look, if it's not working, you're like, I don't like this brushing my teeth thing. Try a different one. That's fine. Everyone's going to connect with something different. Cool. Looking at a work of art or a photo, brilliant. This is a great one for sight, right? Go to a museum, right? Sometimes I feel like this kind of happens if we go to a museum naturally, even if we're not somebody who's like a big art fan, right? We're just like really plugged into this painting, right? So that's a very great example here. But I love your photo example because we can do this with anything, right? I'm going to look at this photo of my best friend and I'm just going to think about them for 30 seconds. That's beautiful. That's amazing. You're meditating on your friend, meditating on how grateful you are that they're in your life, or maybe they're not in your life anymore. You're grateful for the time that you had with them. There's so many beautiful things that can come out of that very simple action. Brilliant. Love that, Carol. Thank you. Looking for a color while walking. Yeah. No, like that's a really good one too. Like, you know what? I'm gonna keep my eye out for vibrant green. I like that. Maybe I'll do that. It's starting to turn green over by me. That's a great one. This is good. I'm just giving you like the information here. You should get creative. You know, find what connects with you. You know, if you like looking at art, go do that. That'd be awesome. Okay. All right. This is your fourth reminder, and this is the final one. To go get a little bit of water, because we're going to do a mindful drinking meditation. We're going to meditate on drinking water, and I'm going to guide us through this, and you do not need to worry about how you will go about doing this other than to just have it within arm's reach, right? And this is kind of like a public service announcement. When the point comes where I say pick up the cup of water, you can open your eyes to do this. I don't want you spilling your water all over yourself or your outfit or your iPad or computer or whatnot, your phone. So you can open your eyes to do this. Okay. So I'll give people a second to go do that. Anyone have any questions in the meantime about anything that we talked about? I have seltzer, which I love seltzer so much, but I don't think this is a good thing for me to drink while I have a microphone very close to me. Get burpy. What was I going to say? Going while we're waiting for people to kind of get their little drink, going back to it being hard to stick with meditation. Another tip that I can throw out there quickly is to think about what time of day you are generally the least stressed. Sometimes our temptation is to meditate when we're stressed, and we'll get there when we become pretty good at it. But when we're learning, it's good to do when you're not stressed. So I'm not a morning person. I never have been, and I don't know if I ever will be. So, when I started meditating, I'm like, I'm going to do it in the morning, like all those other people that I think do meditation in the morning. And it didn't work out great for me, because when you are not a morning person, you're always late. And so I woke up and I'm like, I don't have time, right? So I started doing meditation after work, after I was done with my day. And I found that to be helpful, right? Maybe you are a morning person and that's the best time. The point is, think about what time of day is like not a stressor for you, and then see if you can put in a little meditation time there. Cool. Daphne, no one has ever explained it the way you do. Keith, I'm so grateful you do. Are your classes just once a week? Daphne, first of all, thank you. That's very kind of you to say, and it's awesome to have you here. Are my classes once a week? Yes, I have been wanting to do more, but I do have another job that I do, so this is kind of what I'm doing for trying to manage it. I am thinking of starting to do some like workshops where maybe it's like on a Saturday or something where we can like dive into anxiety deeper, right? Maybe like it's like a 2-hour class. We'll take a little breaks here and there. So that's something I'm thinking about doing. I don't know. Is that interesting to you? Maybe I'll try to kick that into gear. But right now it is once a week on Wednesdays. Though if you're interested in learning more, I do offer one-on-one classes. I'll talk a little bit about that later, but thanks. Nikki, no questions. Thanks for sharing your energy. Thank you. It means a lot to me. Thanks for being here. I love teaching, and I couldn't do that without you guys. So you being here is really crucial for me. So thank you. All right. Everyone's got water or wine, right? I'm jealous about Mary's got wine. I got this seltzer over here. That was cool. All right. Okay. So we'll start just by doing a little breathing meditation just to relax. And then we are going to do a mindful drinking. And you just kind of got to follow along with what I'm saying. I'm going to do the guiding. That's my role here as the teacher. So enjoy it. Okay. Make sure you're comfy once again in your chair or cushion or laying down or whatnot, and go ahead and close your eyes. very briefly, just check in. How are you feeling now? In this exact moment. We're not comparing it to before. We're not hoping to feel differently than we do. We are just noticing. And having checked in, you can once again, briefly, turn your full focus, single-pointed concentration on your breath, breathing in and out gently and naturally. Smooth breathing in and out, following the air as it enters your nose, exits. "100% plugged in to this moment. This moment. This moment. This moment." And if you find your attention drifting, no problem. It's very common. But you can just say not right now to those thoughts. We'll get to them later. And then guide your focus back to your breath. Back to breathing in and out gently and naturally as you begin to relax once again into your chair or cushion. And having engaged in breathing meditation just for a little bit, calmed our mind just a little bit, we're now going to do a mindful drinking exercise. We are going to turn a simple task, drinking a sip of water, into meditation. So I'd like you to pick up the container that is holding the water or beverage that you've chosen. Just hold it in your hand. Rest your hand on the container. What does this container feel like in your hand? Can you sense the temperature of the water through the container? Does the water feel cool? Maybe it's giving off heat if it's a warm beverage. What does the material used to create the container feel like? Is it smooth? Is it rough? Is it firm, flexible? Now I'd like you to pick up the container and bring it up to your nose. And I'd like you to smell the water. What does this water smell like to you? Can you sense the temperature of the liquid with your nose? Can you smell the coolness? Can you smell the heat Are there any aromas of the material of the container? Smell of plastic or glass? Now I'd like you to take a sip of the water. Don't swallow it just yet. Just allow the water to sit in your mouth. What does this water feel like sitting gently in your mouth? Can you feel the liquid moving effortlessly around your teeth, gums, free from constraints? Can you sense the temperature changing, maybe? The longer this liquid sits in your mouth, has it gone from cool to room temperature, perhaps? You can go ahead and swallow that sip of water. And now I'd like you to take another sip. And this time I'd like you to focus on what that liquid feels like as you are swallowing it. Can you feel the sensations of the water moving from your mouth to your throat, to your stomach? Can we sense the temperature change of the water being cooler in our mouth and then warming as it travels through our body? There are infinite subtleties to drinking water. We drink liquids every day, multiple times a day. And all of these subtle joys, these kind of fascinating subtleties about drinking water, they're always there. They're waiting for us to notice them, to enjoy them. They are there for you if you want them to be. When you are single-pointedly focused on an activity or something, you start to find subtle joys, hidden aspects of the activity that were always there, but you may have not noticed them before. Right now, you are learning to appreciate the subtleties of what drinking water feels like. How wonderful. Imagine if every moment of your life was as interesting as drinking this sip of water. It can be. So just for the next couple of moments, feel free to take another sip of water and just enjoy water. Enjoy drinking. In this moment, okay. And when you are ready, you can open your eyes. Cool. How'd that go? So, this is an example of what is sometimes called like mindful eating, mindful drinking, right? So this is one that's just accessible virtually. But what are we doing here, right? We are taking an activity that we do quite often, drinking something, and we are making a choice. We are choosing to focus single-pointedly on this activity, right? If our attention starts to drift, no, drinking water, right? And one of the byproducts of that, and this is kind of one of the, people are like, meditation, I hear it makes you happy, right? One of the kind of reasons why that's a thing is when you are present with something, all these subtleties start to pop up. You're like, man, oh, that's cool how the water, the temperature is changing in my mouth. Oh, that's so cool, right? Like things are interesting. Things that might normally seem mundane are interesting. Subtle joys, right? Cool. Bruce, cherry chocolate iced coffee was a great choice for this. Wow. That sounds delicious. I didn't even know that was a thing. I'm a huge iced coffee fan. I drink iced coffee year round, even if the Colorado winters. Oops. Mary, relaxing. Hard to stay focused though. So a couple things here. Totally, right? Why? When you drink water, do you do this? No, never. We never do this. We never do this. It takes practice, right? And then also, when you're doing some of this stuff on your own, I would recommend, particularly if you're be like new to meditation relatively, pick one aspect of it. I kind of was going through a bunch to show the breadth of what can surface when we're focusing. But let's say you're going to do brushing your teeth, right? I want you to just be like, okay, I'm just going to focus on the way the bristles feel on my mouth. That's it. I'm not going to worry about the sounds. I'm not going to worry about anything. I'm just going to focus on that, right? Cool. Patrick, thanks. Made you appreciate good water. Yeah, I've had that experience too, where it's like, man, this is good. And then normally I don't like water. So it was good for me. Pat, hard time staying focused. So totally normal, right? And this is a product of this being new, right? It's interesting because we don't really think about this, but it's kind of like our minds driving us around, right? Your mind's like, hey, worry about that. We're like, okay, fine. Mine's like, hey, remember that thing happened 3 years ago? Worry about that. We're like, oh, man, I was watching this show. I don't want to think about that. But we got to go do it, because our mind's kind of leading us around, right? And so with something like this, right, we're drinking water. We've spent however many years you've been, your adult life, not single-pointedly focused on drinking water, right? And so our mind's like, this is a waste of my time. I will go and think about work. So we have to train. We have to train our mind to be comfortable doing stuff like this, to see the value in it. And that is just practice. That's it. Don't expect too much of yourself. Meditation is wonderful, beautiful practice. It is a very slow burn. It is a very, very slow burn. And so having patience with yourself, which is difficult, is a key component of this, right? Cool. Workshops would be great. All right. I like this. All right. People are getting buzzed about it. All right. I'll try to put some thought into it and see if we can get one going. What would you like to see? Maybe like anxiety. I feel like that's like the big one. That might be the first one that I do. Okay. That's it for today. Thank you so much for being here. If you had a good time, come on back. We'll be doing another meditation thing next week. I don't know what the topic is. Woo! I'll figure it out later. If you haven't subscribed, thank you to those who have during the live stream. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, that'd be awesome. If you could, mean a lot to me, and you get access to all my videos, and you get notifications when I'm going live. Little reminder for you. Right? Cool. And then if you're like, hey, this is super interesting, I would really like to see where I could go with meditation. I teach one-on-one classes. That's the main kind of core of my business with meditation. And I do them over Zoom. It is very low key. It is very laid back. We have fun. We'll chat, and we'll focus on something that is really meaningful to you. Maybe you're like, you know what? I don't want to do the water thing. I'm here for anxiety. And I'll be like, okay, we'll focus on that. So if that's interesting to you, or if you just have any questions that you'd like to ask me, you can, Daphne, meditation breaks. Is that my YouTube channel? Yes, that's it. Yeah. Thank you. I'm going to put my email in the chat now. And so you can just email me if you would like to do a one-on-one class, or just ask me a question. All right. My email is keith@meditationbreaks.com. Can you hear that clicking? I have a very clicky keyboard. Okay. Keith@meditationbreaks.com. Looks good to me. Sent. All right. So again, email me if you have any questions, or if you'd like to do one-on-one. And thank you guys for being here. I love teaching meditation, and I could not do that without you. Thank you for taking time out of your day to be here. Britters, will this be available later to watch? Yes, all of my videos that I've done are available for you to watch on my YouTube channel. Thank you. So watch them at your convenience. Okay. Thanks. You guys are the best. Have a great rest of the week, and I'll see you all next Wednesday. All right? Take care.